Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a story. It's about someone you know very well, you. How many of us have spent years chasing love? Maybe not always in the romantic sense, but in the need to feel seen, valued, and held. We scroll through apps, we analyze text messages, we bend ourselves into smaller, more manageable versions of who we are, because maybe, just maybe, this time will be enough. But what happens when we stop and ask a different question? Not, how can I be loved? But, who am I when no one is looking? The truth is, chasing love often comes from a place of scarcity, a belief that something essential is missing in us. And let me tell you, that scarcity is a lie. You were born worthy. You don't need to earn it, prove it, or hustle for it. Your worth is not contingent on someone else's ability to see it. Yet we still look outward. We put our self-worth in someone else's hands because it feels easier to outsource our happiness than to sit with the discomfort of being alone. But here's the catch. The love you're looking for can't come from anyone else. It starts with you. Finding yourself is not about perfection. It's about wholeness. It's about asking, what makes my heart beat faster? What are the parts of me I've been hiding? What would happen if I dared to be unapologetically myself? When you start showing up for yourself, something remarkable happens. The love you thought you needed from others becomes less about validation and more about connection. Because here's the thing, real love, whether it's romantic, platonic, or familial, thrives not in the absence of imperfection, but in the presence of authenticity. You are not a problem to be fixed. You are a story to be told. And your story is worth telling. So stop looking for love as if it's a treasure buried in someone else's backyard. Start finding yourself in the quiet moments of reflection, in the boundaries you set, and in the courage it takes to show up as you are. Because the most profound love you'll ever know is the love you give to yourself. And when you truly embrace who you are, you create the space for others to meet you there, not because they complete you, but because they celebrate you. One of the most common mistakes people make when seeking love is looking for validation from external sources. This desire often stems from a deep-seated belief that our worth is tied to how others perceive us. We chase compliments, approval, and affection, hoping they will fill an internal void. However, this approach leads to an endless cycle of seeking and disappointment because external validation is not a sustainable source of self-worth. To understand this better, consider how society shapes our perceptions of love and success. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that being loved means meeting certain standards. These standards are often set by media culture and even family expectations. We learn to associate worthiness with achievements, looks, or the ability to meet others' needs. This conditioning creates a mindset where we constantly look outward for approval rather than inward for self-acceptance. Research in psychology highlights that external validation can create a temporary sense of satisfaction, but it rarely leads to lasting happiness. Studies on self-determination theory, for instance, emphasize the importance of intrinsic motivation over extrinsic rewards. Intrinsic motivation comes from within us and is driven by our values, passions, and sense of purpose. When we rely on external validation, we undermine our ability to build intrinsic self-esteem, which is crucial for personal growth and resilience. Relying on others for validation also puts our emotional well-being in their hands. If someone praises us, we feel good, but if they criticize or ignore us, we may feel unworthy or rejected. This gives away our power and leaves us vulnerable to external fluctuations. A healthier approach involves cultivating self-awareness and self-compassion. These practices help us recognize that our value does not depend on what others think or say about us. To stop chasing external validation, we must first identify the areas where we seek approval. This could be in relationships, work, or even social media interactions. Next, we need to ask ourselves why we crave that approval. Is it because we doubt our abilities or fear being unworthy if we stand alone? Understanding the root cause allows us to address it with self-reflection and personal growth. Building internal validation involves setting personal standards and values. Instead of asking, "What will they think?" shift the question to, "Does this align with who I am and what I value?" This reframing empowers you to act in ways that honor your true self rather than conforming to external expectations. Another important step is practicing self-compassion. This means treating yourself with kindness when you make mistakes or fall short of your goals. It involves recognizing that imperfection is a shared human experience and that you are deserving of love and respect, regardless of your flaws. Ultimately, learning to stop chasing external validation is about reclaiming your sense of worth. It is about realizing that no amount of external praise or approval can substitute for the deep fulfillment that comes from knowing and embracing who you are. This shift allows you to approach life and relationships from a place of confidence and authenticity. You may call this breaking free for varying reasons, but where growth occurs is when we realize that no amount of external praise or approval can substitute for the deep fulfillment that comes from knowing and embracing who you are, being present, and really sharing joy on your journey. One of the most powerful shifts we can make in our journey towards self-discovery and fulfillment is changing the question we ask ourselves. Instead of focusing on how to be loved by others, we need to turn inward and ask who we are when no one is looking. This question takes us from seeking external validation to exploring our true identity, values, and purpose. The question, "How can I be loved?" reflects an outward orientation, where our self-worth becomes tied to the opinions and approval of others. This mindset often leads us to mold ourselves to fit expectations, whether they come from society, family, or peers. While this approach might bring temporary acceptance, it ultimately distances us from our authentic selves. Over time, it can create a disconnection between who we are and who we present ourselves to be. On the other hand, the question, "Who am I when no one is looking?" invites self-reflection and a deeper understanding of our core identity. It encourages us to examine our values, passions, and beliefs without the influence of external pressures. This process is not always easy. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves, including fears, insecurities, and unresolved emotions. However, this introspection is essential for personal growth and the cultivation of genuine self-worth. To explore this question effectively, we must first create space for self-reflection. This can involve practices like journaling, meditation, or simply spending time alone without distractions. These moments allow us to tune into our thoughts and feelings and to notice patterns in our behavior and decision-making. For example, we might discover that certain choices are driven by a fear of rejection rather than a true desire or value. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward aligning our actions with our authentic selves. As we delve deeper into the question of who we are, we may find that our identity is shaped by a combination of innate traits and learned experiences. While some aspects of ourselves remain consistent over time, others may evolve as we grow and encounter new perspectives. Embracing this dynamic nature of identity is crucial for self-acceptance. It reminds us that we are not defined by past mistakes or limitations, but by our capacity to learn, adapt, and move forward. This inward journey also helps us clarify our values and priorities. When we understand what truly matters to us, we can make choices that reflect those values, even when they differ from societal norms or expectations. Ultimately, shifting the question from how to be loved to who we are when no one is looking is a transformative practice. It allows us to move away from seeking approval and toward embracing our authentic selves. In doing so, we cultivate a sense of self-worth that is rooted in who we are, rather than in how others perceive us. This shift not only enhances our relationship with ourselves, but also strengthens our ability to connect with others in meaningful and authentic ways. Self-worth is a fundamental aspect of human well-being, yet many people tie their sense of value to external factors such as achievements, relationships, or the opinions of others. This approach, though common, often leads to feelings of inadequacy and instability. True self-worth comes from within and is built on a foundation of self-acceptance and self-compassion. Understanding and internalizing this concept is crucial for personal growth and emotional resilience. When self-worth is based on external validation, it becomes conditional and fragile. For instance, someone may feel worthy only when they receive praise at work, maintain a perfect appearance, or meet the expectations of loved ones. While these external sources of validation can provide temporary satisfaction, they are often fleeting and unpredictable. The moment external approval is withdrawn or unattainable, feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt can arise. This creates a cycle of constantly seeking validation to feel whole, leaving little room for genuine self-acceptance. Psychological research supports the idea that sustainable self-worth must be intrinsic. One significant theory is self-determination theory, which emphasizes the importance of autonomy, competence, and relatedness in fostering intrinsic motivation and self-esteem. These intrinsic factors allow individuals to feel worthy and capable regardless of external circumstances. For example, when someone pursues a goal because it aligns with their personal values rather than external expectations, their sense of accomplishment is more deeply rooted and enduring. Building self-worth from within starts with self-awareness. This involves recognizing the internal narratives we carry about ourselves and questioning their validity. Many of these narratives are shaped by past experiences, societal messages, or cultural expectations that may not reflect our true selves. For example, someone might believe they are unworthy of love because of a past rejection, even though this belief is not rooted in objective reality. Challenging these negative narratives allows us to break free from limiting beliefs and develop a healthier self-concept. Another essential component of intrinsic self-worth is self-compassion. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, especially in moments of failure or struggle. It acknowledges that imperfection is a natural part of being human and that our worth is not diminished by mistakes or shortcomings. Studies show that self-compassion is associated with greater emotional resilience, reduced anxiety, and higher overall life satisfaction. Practicing self-compassion can involve simple actions such as reframing self-critical thoughts or offering ourselves the same empathy we would extend to a close friend. Cultivating self-worth from within also requires aligning our actions with our values. This means making choices that reflect what truly matters to us rather than conforming to external expectations. For instance, someone who values creativity might prioritize artistic expression over societal standards of success. Living authentically in this way reinforces our sense of identity and worth, as it affirms that we are living in accordance with our true selves. Ultimately, self-worth is not something that can be earned or given by others. It is a practice of recognizing our inherent value as human beings. By shifting our focus from external validation to internal acceptance, we can create a stable and enduring foundation of self-worth that supports us through life's challenges and triumphs. This shift allows us to navigate the world with confidence, authenticity, and a deeper sense of fulfillment. In a world that often glorifies perfection, the idea of embracing authenticity can feel both liberating and daunting. Many people spend their lives striving to appear flawless in their careers, relationships, and personal lives. However, the pursuit of perfection is not only unattainable but also deeply exhausting. It disconnects us from our true selves and prevents us from forming meaningful connections with others. Embracing authenticity over perfection is a transformative step towards self-acceptance and genuine fulfillment. Embracing authenticity requires self-awareness and courage. It involves asking ourselves honest questions about our values, beliefs, and desires. What truly matters to us? Are we living in alignment with our values, or are we conforming to external expectations? These questions help us identify areas where we may be compromising our authenticity in order to seek approval or avoid criticism. By recognizing these patterns, we can begin to make choices that reflect our true selves rather than a curated version of who we think we should be. Authenticity also requires vulnerability. Being authentic means showing up as we are, even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. This might involve admitting when we are struggling, asking for help, or sharing our true feelings with others. Vulnerability can be intimidating because it exposes us to the possibility of rejection or criticism. However, it is also the foundation of genuine connection and trust. When we allow ourselves to be seen, flaws and all, we invite others to do the same, fostering deeper and more meaningful relationships. Living authentically does not mean rejecting growth or self-improvement. Instead, it means embracing growth from a place of self-acceptance rather than self-criticism. It involves celebrating unique qualities and recognizing that our worth is not defined by our achievements or the opinions of others. By prioritizing authenticity over perfection, we free ourselves from the constant pressure to prove our worth and create space for a life that is rich with purpose, connection, and joy. In a society that often prioritizes perfection, the concept of embracing authenticity can feel like a radical shift. Many people spend their lives attempting to meet impossible standards, striving to appear flawless in their actions, choices, and appearance. While this pursuit may seem like a path to success and approval, it often leads to feelings of inadequacy, exhaustion, and disconnection. Authenticity offers an alternative approach, one that focuses on embracing who we truly are rather than conforming to external ideals. Authenticity begins with an understanding that imperfection is not a weakness or failure, but a fundamental aspect of being human. From an early age, individuals are often taught to hide their flaws and project an image of competence and control. This expectation can create immense pressure, leading people to suppress their true feelings, preferences, and vulnerabilities. Over time, this disconnection from one's authentic self can result in a lack of fulfillment, as the individual becomes more focused on maintaining an image than living in alignment with their values. Research in psychology highlights the costs of perfectionism and the benefits of authenticity. Studies have shown that perfectionism is often linked to increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. People who strive for perfection tend to set unattainable goals, which can lead to chronic dissatisfaction and a fear of failure. In contrast, those who embrace authenticity experience greater emotional well-being, stronger relationships, and a deeper sense of purpose. Authenticity allows individuals to acknowledge their imperfections and strengths, creating a foundation for personal growth and self-acceptance. To cultivate authenticity, individuals must first engage in self-reflection. This involves taking the time to explore one's values, beliefs, and desires. Questions such as what truly matters to me, and am I living in alignment with my core values, can help identify areas where authenticity may have been compromised. By understanding these aspects of oneself, it becomes easier to make choices that reflect one's true self rather than adhering to societal or external expectations. Another critical aspect of authenticity is vulnerability. Being authentic requires the willingness to show up as oneself, even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. This might involve sharing personal experiences, expressing true feelings, or admitting mistakes. Vulnerability can be challenging because it exposes individuals to the possibility of judgment or rejection. However, it is also the foundation of meaningful connections. When individuals allow themselves to be seen for who they truly are, they create opportunities for deeper and more authentic relationships with others. Authenticity also involves letting go of the need to constantly compare oneself to others. Comparing one's life, achievements, or appearance to others often fuels perfectionism and detracts from self-acceptance. By focusing instead on personal growth and living in alignment with one's values, individuals can foster a sense of fulfillment and purpose that is not dependent on external validation. Ultimately, choosing authenticity over perfection is an act of self-liberation. It allows individuals to step away from the pressure of societal expectations and embrace their unique qualities and experiences. By doing so, they create a life that is more genuine, fulfilling, and aligned with their true selves. Loving yourself first is one of the most essential yet often misunderstood aspects of personal growth and emotional well-being. Many people equate self-love with selfishness or arrogance, but in reality, it is the foundation of a healthy and balanced life. When you cultivate a loving relationship with yourself, you build the capacity to navigate challenges, form meaningful connections, and experience deeper fulfillment. Loving yourself is not about placing yourself above others. It is about recognizing your inherent worth and treating yourself with the same care and compassion you would offer to someone you love. At its core, self-love begins with self-acceptance. This involves embracing all aspects of yourself, including your strengths, weaknesses, and imperfections. Self-acceptance means acknowledging that you are worthy of love and respect, not because of what you achieve or how you look, but simply because you are human. Many people struggle with self-acceptance because they are conditioned to focus on their flaws or compare themselves to others. However, self-love requires a shift in perspective, one that prioritizes kindness over criticism and growth over perfection. Self-love is also closely tied to self-care. Taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally is a tangible way of expressing love and respect for yourself. This might involve setting aside time for activities that bring you joy, establishing boundaries to protect your energy, or seeking help when you need it. Self-care is not indulgent, it is a necessary practice for maintaining balance and resilience. When you care for yourself, you replenish your resources and become better equipped to support others. Another important aspect of loving yourself is developing self-awareness. This involves understanding your needs, desires, and values and making choices that align with them. When you know what truly matters to you, it becomes easier to prioritize your well-being and make decisions that honor your authentic self. For example, if you value creativity, dedicating time to artistic pursuits is an act of self-love that reinforces your sense of identity and purpose. Loving yourself first also requires learning to let go of external validation. Many people tie their self-worth to the opinions or approval of others, which can lead to a constant cycle of seeking and striving. However, true self-love comes from within. It means recognizing that your value is not determined by what others think of you, but by your own belief in your worthiness. This shift allows you to approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than need, fostering healthier and more authentic connections. Practicing self-love is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to confront the beliefs and behaviors that hold you back. As you develop a loving relationship with yourself, you may find that it transforms every aspect of your life. When you treat yourself with compassion and respect, you set the tone for how others treat you, and you create a foundation for a life that is rich with purpose, connection, and joy.